Welcome back to cost accounting class. And in this 34th session, I'll be telling you what is activity-based costing, its meaning, definition, need, and objectives of ABC. Along with that, I'll be discussing about the basic components or key terms used in activity-based costing. So I'm Dr. Uma B. Pujar, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Government First Grade College and PG Center, Dharwad. First, let us see what is the meaning of activity-based costing. We also call it as ABC. ABC is a systematic method of assigning the cost to activities of products, services, customers, or any cost object. Activity-based costing is an accounting methodology that assigns cost to activities rather than products or services. This enables resources and overhead costs to be more accurately assigned to the products and the services that consume them. So, as the word itself says, activity-based costing. So, whatever cost incurred while manufacturing a goods or services will not be directly assigned to the product or service. So what are the activities conducted in order to produce those goods and services? The cost are first assigned to the activities. So they check out how many activities, what all activities are being conducted and what are the costs are incurred to these activities. And according to those activities, the costs are allocated to the activities. And then finally, they apply it to the goods or services, or there are some basis to allocate the costs on the activity basis. So the activity based costing assumes that in order to complete the product, that is while converting raw material into finished goods, it has to pass number of activities, not only purely manufacturing. Other than manufacturing, we have number of activities to be conducted in order to get the final product. So what are those activities? What are the cost incurred for those activities are also checked in this activity-based costing. It is also known as ABC, which refers to the allocation of costs, that is charges and expenses, to different heads or activities or divisions or events according to their actual use or on account of some basis for allocation. That is, we called it as cost driver rate. So some bases are taken here which drives the cost, which stimulates the cost to incur. Cost driver rate, which is allocated by total cost divided by total number of activities in order to arriving at profit. So this is purely based on activities. So what all activities are being conducted in order to produce a goods or services. So in traditional method or in conventional method, what we used to do, whatever overhead costs are collected, that is indirect costs are collected, those were directly applied to the product or services. Now in this ABC, they collect the overhead cost, but according to the activities conducted. Here we'll come to know what are the activities conducted, whether conducted or not conducted, or it is to be conducted or not to be conducted. These can be taken in some final decisions also. Let's see the definitions now. According to Cooper and Kalpan, ABC is defined as ABC system calculates the cost of individual activities and assigns cost to cost objects such as product or services on the basis of activities undertaken to produce each product or services. Again, the Cooper, he says that it is a system that calculates the cost of individual activities. So there are number of activities conducted while producing goods or services. What was the cost of every individual activity is assigned to the cost object, such as product or service. On this basis, the costs are calculated. According to Horngreen, ABC is a system that focuses on activities and fundamental cost objects and utilizes cost of these activities as building blocks and compiling the cost of other cost objects. So again, he also says that there is certain activities or events which ABC focuses on. So number of activity conducted by each department or the organization in order to convert the raw material into finished goods, those are being first collected and then compiled to the cost of the cost objects. And according to CIMA, it defines ABC as cost attribution to cost units on the basis of benefit received from indirect activities. Again, indirect activities is nothing but the overhead costs. Example, ordering, handling, quality assurance, etc. So while ordering, you have to incur some cost. So you have to call them, you have to wait for a time of 10 days or 15 days. Sometimes you have to wait for months together. And how many times the vehicles has run up and down, all those things are counted here. So how many activities, how many orders are being taken place, and what was the cost of that ordering, and what was the cost of handling the products. It may be raw materials, how they have handled, how was the storage taken place, how many times the handling was happened, how many times the machine was set up. All those activities are being checked in detail, and what was the cost incurred by these activities are being ascertained. So this is all about ABC. Need for ABC or reasons for emergence of ABC. The very first point why we require ABC nowadays is that high incurrence of overheads. The use of technology has made the overheads to increase heavily due to automation and complexity of production. Production overhead costs are high in comparison to various direct costs. The ABC gets closer to the true cost and true profitability of individual products and services. So as we use technology, so nowadays it is inevitable to use technology in production activity in order to acquire or in order to produce a high quality product. We have to adopt new technology also. So when we adopt technology and go for automation, naturally there will be large amount of cost incurred on the goods and services. So they say that direct costs may not vary much, but the indirect cost or the overhead cost will increase when we go for adoption of technology. So ABC gets closer to the true cost because it studies in detail, it checks out the activities conducted in order to complete the product. So this can give a true profitability of individual product and services. So when the cost is high, the profit will be low. So in order to increase the profit, the overheads should be properly allocated and absorbed. So this can be done in ABC. And the second point is unrealistic absorption base. Common basis of overhead absorption based on the assumption that volume is predetermined causes of overhead. ABC identifies the activities for which costs are to be allocated and controlled. So in traditional method or conventional method, what we used to do, the whatever overhead costs are collected are being directly allocated to the product or services using 2 or 3 common bases, that is machine hours or labor hours or direct labor cost method. These under this method we used to allocate the overhead to the product or service, which is unrealistic. But whereas ABC, it identifies the activities for which costs are to be collected and controlled. Which activity is very important, whether that activities are to be conducted or not to be conducted will be checked out, and if it is important, those activities can be conducted and the cost can be incurred. So all this can be done in ABC. And the next point is diversity in product lines. So nowadays the companies produce a wide range of products. We tell it as product mix. we have different product lines and different types of products are being produced. Overheads are of considerable importance. When we increase the number of products, when we join different lines of product, naturally the overhead cost will increase. So simple method of apportioning overheads based on direct labor are not justified. ABC gives a better indication of change in overheads with alteration of product range and product mix. So in the modern days, so all these things, that is use of technology or diversity in product lines, these are common now. So when we go for automation and there is a tough competition in the market, we have to, when we have to survive in the market, we have to adopt new technology and we have to come up with new different products with new technology, new innovation, and naturally we go on adding some new products in the product line. So when we do this, naturally the cost or the overhead or indirect cost will increase. So in order to reduce and in order to control the cost, we have to check the activities which is possible through A, B, C. And the next is profitability of an organization. The main goal of using the activity-based costing method is to increase the profitability and overall performance of an organization. ABC process manage manufacturing performance and improve the quality of the product and services. As I said earlier, ABC, it checks out the activities. What are the activities to be conducted in order to produce the goods or services? So activity means, again, we have to check out what is the performance of that activity. So it is possible only in ABC, and after analyzing the performance of the activity, the overall profitability of the organization can be increased. Budgeting of indirect costs. Activity-based budgeting is an approach to budgeting that lays emphasis on budgeting the cost of activities necessary to produce and sell products and services. Activity-based budgeting is especially useful in case of budgeting of indirect costs. So ABC, why we need ABC is that whatever activities are conducted for producing goods and services, budget is allocated to those activities, and it is very useful in case of budgeting of indirect cost also. So for each and every activity, budgeting is done in ABC. Next is cost reduction. The activity-based costing method is helpful in ascertaining areas where cost reductions are possible. Activity-based costing can lead to improved decision-making, such as fixing selling price and pinpointing the area where cost reduction is possible. So when we study each and every activity of the organization, we'll naturally come to know where the activities are done properly or not. So if unnecessary activities are there, we can naturally eliminate those activities, and we can reduce the cost and fix the selling price. So it also, the main objective of ABC is to reduce the cost through checking the activities, through checking the performance of the activities, and ultimately reduce the cost. And next, what are the objectives of ABC, activity-based costing? It identifies and eliminates those products and services that are unprofitable and lower the prices of those that are overpriced. That is product and service portfolio aim. So identifying and eliminating those products and services that are unprofitable and lower the prices of those that are overpriced. So as I said, it studies in detail the activities of the organization performed in order to complete the product. So what are the activities which doesn't give profit to the organization, those activities are identified and eliminated from the process. And next is identify and eliminate production or service processes which are ineffective. So when we go in depth, when we study in detail the every activity of the production process, so we can identify those processes which does not bring any effective result in the production. So such activities can be totally eliminated. We'll come to know whenever we keenly absorb any activity, we'll come to know this is the best activity or this is the least activity. This activity should be taken out from the process. So because this is it is not ineffective. So such things can be checked out while checking the process. Next is identify and improve the activities that add value. So which activity adds more value to the product or the organization can be identified and can be made more improvement in such activities. And identify the activities that don't add value and then reduce or eliminate them. So which activity does not add value, those activities can be eliminated or to some extent can be reduced also. And replan the processes to boost the efficiency and profitability by maximizing value added activities and cutting off on non-value activities. So by maximizing value added activities and reducing or eliminating non-value activities, we can replan and boost the efficiency and profitability of the organization. To ensure the accurate product costing for decision making process. So this ABC is very important in a decision making process because it gives a very detailed cost details to the management so that it can take some proper decision. To focus on high cost activities. So whichever activity has a very high cost, on those costs, it can concentrate more and try to reduce the cost of those activities. To distribute overheads on the basis of activities. So one of the objective of ABC is to distribute overhead or allocate overheads on the basis of number of activities done while converting the goods and services. These are the objectives. And the next point is basic components or key terms of ABC. So we have resources, activity, cost objects, cost drivers, cost pool, cost hierarchy. Let us see what does these mean. Resources. Resource is defined as an economic or money element that is applied or used in the performance of activities. Resources such as people, facilities, and cost associated with people and expenses are the economic elements consumed while performing activities. So, while performing activities, any activity, these are the resources. It is defined as economic or money element. So, which stimulates or which drives the cost, I can say, which drives the cost. When we use some resources, naturally we have to incur some amount of cost on it. It may be people or some facilities. If you want facilities, we have to incur a lot of money. If you want people, you have to pay salaries, labors to them. We have to incur some cost. So those are the resources which are used in producing goods and services and which incur cost to the organization. So this is the main point here. Resource is the people or the facilities or costs associated. The next is activity. What is activity? Activity is any event or action, transaction, or work sequence that incurs cost when producing a product or providing a service. An activity is a unit of work. So it is a unit of work. It may be an event, an action, transaction, or a work sequence that incurs cost. So first one is resources, which incur cost because we want some resources in order to produce goods and services. And when we take up these resources, activity are conducted. Again, for conducting activity, we have to incur cost. So step by step, we have to check out. So next, what is cost objects? It represent cost information grouped by profitability dimension. Cost objects can be any customer, product, service, contract, project, or other work unit for which a separate cost measurement is desired. The most common cost object is product or service cost. Activity drivers are used to trace activity cost to cost object. So next is cost object. So when we go for activity, we are performing some activity for what purpose? Because we want to produce a good or service. This product or service is called a cost object. So for producing goods or services, for producing product or services, that is the cost object for which we are conducting activities, for which we have taken some resources. And the next is cost drivers. So what drives the cost to this cost object? Let us see. A cost driver is an activity which generates cost. That is, the cause and effect relationship exists between a change in the level of activity or volume and the change in the level of total costs of that cost object. Thus, cost drivers signify factors, events that determine cost of activity. Based on activity usage consumption, activity costs are traced to cost objects. For example, number of receiving orders for the receiving department, number of purchase orders for the cost of operating the purchase department, number of units, number of setups, number of materials handling per hour, number of inspections made, number of direct labor hours used, number of purchasing ordering hours, number of customers, orders processed, number of employees. These are the cost drivers which drive the cost. So these are the points which are very important in A, B, C. So without understanding these terms, you cannot proceed further. Let's see what is cost pool. Cost pool is the overhead cost attributed to a distinct type of activity. Costs are grouped into pools according to the activities which drive them. Costs are accumulated for each activity as the separate cost object. Cost pools collect activity cost having the same cost driver. So cost pools collect activity cost. So what are activities conducted and what was the cost of that activity are being collected by these cost pools having the same cost driver. Cost drivers link activities and resources consumption. For example, electricity cost, product handling cost, machine setup cost, inspection cost, factory supervision cost, plant insurance, product design, etc. So there may be some same cost drivers for different activities. So this cost pool collect the cost of such activities which fall under same cost drivers. So here you can see on the right side, cost pools and cost drivers. So for purchasing department, number of purchasing orders are the cost driver. So cost pools I have given here on the left side of the chart: purchasing department, receiving department, material handling, setup, inspection, engineering department, personal processing supervisors. These are cost pools. And what are the cost drivers are number of purchase orders, number of purchase orders. Again, we can see here we have different same cost drives used here. Number of material requisition, number of machine setup required, number of inspection, number of engineering change orders, number of employees hired, number of direct labor hours. These are the cost drivers for these cost pools. Let's move on. And the last one is cost hierarchy. It is a classification system that assists in the allocation of cost. It is primarily used in ABC costing. It is classified as unit level, batch level, product level, and facility level. Unit level, under this, company must perform this activity only if it produces units. The costs of some primary activities are closely related to the number of units produced. These activities are called as unit level activities. For example, use of indirect material, indirect consumable, and inspection of every item produced. So what is important here? The company must perform this activity only if it produces units. And next is batch level. These activities vary based on the number of batches and not with the batch size. Whatever may be the batch size, but it varies based on the number of batches. The cost of some manufacturing activity which are driven by the number of batches of units produced are known as batch level activities. So manufacturing activities that are driven by number of activities, not the size of the batch, but number of batches of units produced, are known as batch level activities. For example, material ordering, machine setup, inspection of products, etc. Product level, these activities are at the specific product or product line and independent of volume or batch. The cost of some activities driven by creation of new product line and its maintenance are known as product level activity. See here, the cost of some activities driven by creation of new product line and its maintenance are known as product level activities. For example, designing, producing parts, and advertising cost of those new products come under product level activity. And next is facility level. These are the activities that a company performs for the entire facility or the cost to maintain a facility. The cost of some activities cannot be related to a particular product line. Instead, they are related to maintaining building, and facilities are known as facility level activities. For example, building maintenance, which is required for all activities, plant security, production, and advertising related activity. So whatever facilities you are providing for producing goods and services, all the cost incurred for these facilities come under facility level. So these are the different key terms or basic components of activity based costing. So these are the things which I wanted to cover in this session. I'll be back with some other points in my next session. Until then, have a nice time. Thank you very much.